How many discounts does USAA Auto Insurance offer? Too many to say here. Multi-vehicle discount, safe driver discount, new vehicle discount, storage discount, legacy.
How many discounts will you stack up? Visit USAA.com/auto discounts. Restrictions apply.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Hey, it's Paris. You know I love sparkly things, right? Like stars. Duh. And thanks to Hilton and AutoCamp, I just slept under them. Picture me serving looks by the fire outside my luxurious Airstream, making s'mores with the kids, while a national park is our backdrop. The great outdoors meets Hilton hospitality. That's hot. Explore all the new ways to stay at Hilton.com. Hilton for the stay.
With a major selection of the looks your kiddos love, starting at just $4 in the Walmart app, a new school year means a stylish new them. Who knew? Find skater skirts and Crocs that say, I'm casual but cool. Sparkly sneakers that say, it's my classroom, you're just learning in it. And preppy polos that say, I'm the teacher's pet, even if they're mommy's menace at home. Find their favorite styles starting at just $4 in the app. The Walmart you thought you knew is now new.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso Virtuo Coffee Machines. Ready to enjoy the bold flavors of barista-quality Nespresso iced coffee at home? Simply fill a glass with ice and press the brew button on your Virtuo Pop machine to enjoy rich double espressos roasted to stand up even when chilled. Refreshingly bold iced coffee. Refreshingly easy to make at home. Visit Nespresso.com to shop now.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We are so excited to bring you this show.
Our podcast is all about unraveling all of your favorite mysteries from the Assassin's Creed games. Each episode will be talking about a different topic in the Assassin's Creed universe. From Pieces of Eden, Solar Flares, and the Isu, to the Hidden Ones, the Order of Ancients, and of course, the Animus, we will seek to uncover it all.
So join us and maybe even take a leap of faith.
Hello and welcome to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. My name is Shelby. You also know me as She-Cup.
Hey, and I'm Austin or Teacup.
That's right, you are, and we are back with another episode. This week we are not doing an Assassin versus Templar episode. We are doing something that I know you all have been waiting for a long time for, and that is our Assassin's Creed Shadows review.
So there will not be a playthrough update on this episode section because
this episode is my playthrough update.
You finished the game.
Yeah, I did.
And so we're going to get some reactions. Shelby finished the game this week. So it's been like a week since you finished the game at the airing of this episode.
Yeah, I finished it like as of recording yesterday. So
yes,
very recent in my brain.
Mm-hmm. And so we're going to go through some categories and we're going to give them a rating, and we're going to give our official rating of this game for this podcast. So just the like broad categories that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about combat. We're going to talk about stealth. We're going to talk about exploration. We are going to talk about, then we're going to take a mid-break. After the mid-break is where we're going to talk about story. Now I want to pause and have this. This is a full spoiler reaction review. We will try to keep spoilers to a minimum, as minimal as possible in the first half, since we're not really talking about stories. But after the mid-break,
it's going to be spoiler full.
It's going to be spoiler full, yes. Just because we're going to talk about the story and the endings and other things that happen there. And then we'll talk about progression, and we'll talk about the hideout, and then just overall performance, which is not a big category. It's just how did it perform. And then we'll wrap up and give our overall ratings. So that's how this episode's gonna go. And so with that, I think we just jump right in. We're going into combat, and I've kind of divided these into two categories of what I want us to talk about. And you can just talk about generally how you felt about the combat. But the first thing is this game has been talked about in its difficulty. So the first category I have is the difficulty, which I gave a 10 out of 10. And I think for me in this is the first game where the lowest difficulty doesn't feel like pandering and like, oh, I barely have to do anything. But the highest difficulty feels like, okay, like I've got to pay attention. If I get hit more than once, then it's over.
Yeah.
And all kinds of things like that, which I appreciate that kind of level of nuance. And there are things that you can tweak, but the overall difficulty in there, I appreciate that. I have no qualms about how hard it was. It is very hard in the early game, but once you get to a point, it kind of opens up, and once you learn, it's pretty manageable.
Yeah. My only critique with it, and I gave it a 9 out of 10, is that I played about half the game on the easiest level. Because I don't want to deal with having to redo fights 18 times. Like I'm going to rage quit and never finish the game. And I want the story, so I don't want to do that. So I started on the easiest level and a little bit less than halfway through. I think sometimes after some point after you get Yasuke, the easiest level becomes too easy. Like there's not really much of a challenge anymore. So sometime after I unlocked him, I can't remember exactly where, I upgraded to the next level. And it was still, fairly easy, not super difficult. But it still gave me a challenge. But I will say by the end of the game, even on that second difficulty level, it still became quote unquote easy. And like part of that is just how the game is being built, and that's fine. And it's hard to have that balance across all the different levels and all the different levels that you can get for your character and the level of difficulty in the combat. So I get it.
And I think like what this comes into, like with difficulty and how it does kind of get in here, is that both characters in their progression get the abilities to either counter or block unblockable attacks.
Yeah, once you get that, it's over. It's so easy.
And I think that is, I appreciate that because I tend to like to block before dodging, in my opinion, but it does make it easy because it nerfs the enemies in a really, really significant way, because even there, like, it doesn't force you to change your strategy at all when you're fighting certain enemies and doing things like that. And so this gets 10 out of 10 for me really in there, but this gets us into a thing of variety, like how varied is the combat. I gave this a 6 out of 10. And for a lot of reasons, I think that the animations are repetitive, which is one thing that I tend to be judging harsh. I want like my finishers. I want a bunch of finishers that are different depending on the like situation, because in real combat you're gonna do different things at different moments. But the amount of times as Naoe, I jumped behind an enemy and slit their throat. So as I'm fighting, I'm like, I'm really tired of this animation. And also weapon variety is kind of negligible in my opinion. Like with Naoe, the reason why you would pick your secondary weapon is for whatever assassination ability it gives you, whether that's the Tanto where it gives you double assassination, or the I forget what it's called, but the sickle kind of like axe thing and the chain, the axe and chain, which gives you rush assassination.
Yeah.
And so like that's the reason you would pick a secondary weapon with Naoe. Otherwise, if you're normally fighting, you're going to be fighting with the katana. Though I have been fighting with the chain and axe combo And it is really great for an area for crowd control. And so I could see having that and the Tonto. But really, like, in this game, you're going to have one main weapon.
Yeah.
And you're not going to really switch between that. And with Yasuke, there is absolutely no reason that you should have 2 melee weapons equipped.
No. Absolutely not. You should either pick the Teppo or the bow for your secondary.
Yes. And I think that Yasuke, at least, like, for me, the weapon variety of his weapons really depends on, like, what your play style is.
Yeah.
I stuck with the long katana just because that's what I typically like. But the big blunt weapon, whose name I can't remember,
the Kanobo or something.
The Kanobo, like, it does do a lot of damage. It's really slow. I don't really like slow weapons that much.
I hate that one. I can't remember. Somebody said, "Oh, you might like this one." I don't remember who, but I did not like it because I just felt like it takes forever to attack. And when I play something, I want to be tanky, I want to be hard hitting, and I want to be fast. I want to be able to do all the things.
Right.
And that one is not the weapon for that kind of style.
And so with me, like, variety, it does get repetitive. I gave it a 6 out of 10.
I hear you on that. I think for me, I didn't mind the finishers and that kind of stuff because I was constantly switching around my abilities. And so when you're doing that, it's a little bit less repetitive. But I do hear what you're saying on the weapons. Like for me with Naoe, I stuck to the katana and the Tonto 100% of the game and didn't even really try some of the other ones. With Yasuke, I definitely tried them all out, but got to a point where I was like, no, I prefer the long katana and the bow. I tried the Teppo several times, played with it, for a good amount of the game and tried all the other ones too. But I just eventually got to the point where I was like, no, I prefer the bow and the long katana to be my 2. And I just ended up sticking with that for like the last 20 hours of the game. So Yasuke, I switched around a bit more, but Naoe was consistent the whole time.
Right.
So.
The Teppo does get pretty awesome if you unlock some of its ability things and you unlock the special ammo that comes with it.
Yeah.
I really appreciated the special ammo that came with the ranged weapons. I tended to do the bow because I rarely ever use stealth with Yasuke, but if I was, it was because I was using the bow to pick off people from long range. And
no, I never did that.
Yeah.
I never did that. I was, okay, let me charge into this crowd of people, kill them all, and then take out the ones that are above with my bow, and then go kill anybody else who hasn't seen me yet.
Yeah. So, but like you've said and I've said, it does get repetitive by the end. At some level, we have to be okay with this because we are not playing Assassin's Creed for the combat. We are playing Assassin's Creed for the story most of the time.
True.
But let's move on. That gave, for me, my math gave combat an 8 out of 10.
Me too.
So next is stealth, which I have 2 categories, which is realism and accessibility. And accessibility is your ability to actually accomplish your stealth goals, which is, I think, realism in this one for me is a 10 out of 10. Just because the way the light works, the way enemies can see you, the higher up you go on the difficulty, the more realistic your stealth is going to be and how you have to be there. I really liked that. I liked the ability to take out lights. I liked the ability to hide the ceiling. I super, super love that stealth feels so different for both characters. Like, Yasuke is more of if you're using stealth, you're trying to get yourself into a position where you can ambush a group of enemies and take a couple of them by surprise. Whereas Naoe, you want to lead people away, take them out one by one, use your kunai to throw them out, which I did. We didn't talk about this in combat, but I loved the tools of Naoe too.
Yeah, me too.
And all of the different things that she has to assist her with stealth, the ability of how small she is, crawling under buildings, hiding in these chests and other things like that was really, really cool. It makes you really feel like a ninja.
Well,
which I really appreciate, which is what you are.
Yeah. I agree with that. And I think for me, it's the small touches. And I've said this before, but the small touches in combat and stealth really make it feel fuller. Like, with the Reed where you can breathe underwater with her, and the floors that make sounds when you step on them, and being able to assassinate through the paper doors. Like, those touches are really awesome and make this game feel different than the other Assassin's Creed games. And it really does, for me, show me how much detail they put into developing stealth, which has been a major criticism, especially of Odyssey and Valhalla. So I appreciate that.
And yeah, and speaking of that accessibility of stealth, I also gave a 10 out of 10, which is the ability to actually accomplish stealth goals. Valhalla is the worst culprit of this, of you can try to be sneaking and you can breathe. Like, you can actually breathe. It feels like sometimes you breathe in real life and the enemy sees your character in Valhalla. And, like, it's really, really difficult to do stealth. And I have tried, both in Odyssey and Valhalla, to play the game like I would play a traditional Assassin's Creed game. And there are not enough hiding places. There are not enough rooftops. There are not enough things to do what I need to do. And I find myself, especially in Odyssey, just using Rust Assassination to accomplish as much as I can. But with Valhalla, it's just really hard, and I end up having to fight my way through, and it's one of my biggest frustrations with that game. But this game does not feel this way. This game is like, if you have the patience and you have the impulse to control, to really wait and hide and move slowly and do all this, you can take out an entire fort and leave and no one know you were there.
Yeah, you can. It's not easy, but you definitely can. And the way I played this game is, when I was playing Naue, I am stealthy. I am playing like I would play in Assassin's Creed 1. But when I play with Yasuke, I'm rushing in like I would in Odyssey. So for me, that's kind of how I differentiated it, because I also just felt like that was what was truest to their characters. But overall, I did appreciate the differences between the two of them. Like, Yasuke sucks at stealth. Like, you can try to be stealthy with him, but I don't recommend it.
Right. I mean, with Yasuke, I often found myself destroying hiding spots rather than using them.
Yes.
And that's a big thing. This kind of gets into a thing of like what I want to go out with combat that I also found disappointing. I found the Guardians to be really disappointing as enemies. Just because I was expecting kind of mercenaries from Odyssey or the Phylakitai from Origins, and they were not that. They were more difficult enemies, but
they just had more health. They didn't really do anything.
They
different.
didn't do anything special. And
they had the masks.
Yeah, and that's another thing with the variety of enemies, is like the enemies all fight the same. Like, there's not really you have a difference of like ranged enemies who carry heavy weapons or other things like that require you to change your tactic, maybe until you get the block the unblockable ability. But they all kind of do feel the same.
They do
in that. And another thing with that, like with realism accessibility, 10 out of 10 is just that you can do it if you want to. It's not going to be easy, but stealth in Assassin's Creed 2 was not necessarily easy.
No, I mean, I don't necessarily think ease of stealth should be the measurement. I think it should be whether or not it's possible. And it is possible. And it's not like improbable. It's not even that difficult to do something completely in stealth like it is in Valhalla.
Right. I think one of the biggest things that kind of gets the games here, that kind of made stealth feel more like a requirement of the game. Like with this one, stealth is a requirement of the game because Naue cannot fight large enemies. It just, no matter what difficulty you're playing on, she cannot handle more than 3 enemies at a time. And another point of that is in the earlier games, stealth was required for certain memories, for certain missions, and you would get desynchronized if you got discovered.
True.
And they took that out after a couple games, I think, because people kept getting frustrated with it. I mean, I know I rage quit the games because I kept getting detected.
We've all rage quit a game.
Right. But I think that that's a way that they could bring that back, of making it feel like, we are like there's a requirement, a way we have to do this. But that's really where I'm at with stealth. But it is what I wanted. It is almost. I don't really have a lot of improvements to say on stealth, so it gets a 10 out of 10.
Me too. I have to say 10 out of 10 as well. I think the only other thing I would add is like, going back to the requirements of stealth, requiring stealth in quests. I do feel like they not that they did this, but that they were kind of moving back toward that a little bit by requiring, this is a Naue specific quest or this is a Yasuke specific quest. So I feel like they're trying to find a balance there in a way that like won't piss people off too much, but they can also be creative with it.
Right. I agree with that. So our next category is exploration. And so our first kind of subcategory of this is the open world. I gave the open world out of this a 6 out of 10. It is definitely fuller than Valhalla was. The cities are like cities. Like if you want a rooftop in the cities, you can.
Yeah.
Which is not something you could really do in Valhalla or in Odyssey in a lot of ways. Granted, this takes place much later than almost 2,000 years later than Odyssey, and half a millennia from Valhalla. So that makes sense. It's a more urban environment, but the world does still feel empty. There's not really a lot like traveling. There's a lot of travel, and travel is not really conducive. Or you don't have a lot of points where you can like quickly travel. A lot of times you're having to do several minutes of travel, which we'll get into that kind of in there. And the viewpoints are pointless. So that gets me the 6 out of 10.
Yeah. My issue is I gave it a 4 out of 10 because the viewpoints are, you're absolutely right. They're pointless. They don't unlock the map. I hate that. I would, if the viewpoints unlocked the map, I would probably give the open world a 7 out of 10. Because it is a major improvement over Valhalla and even over Odyssey, in my opinion. Because you're right, the parkour has been improved, the people have been improved. There are things to do, like you can pet animals, you can do the paintings, like there are things that you can do in the game in the wilderness. But the viewpoints being meaningless, combined with the fact that half the world is just bamboo woodland that you can't get through, is infuriating.
Yeah, I feel that. And like at least with, let's be honest, in Origins, in Odyssey, and in Valhalla, the viewpoints didn't unlock all of the map either. They unlocked sections of the map, which was nice. But they also increased the perception of your bird.
Yeah.
And so there was like a benefit for getting them because then your bird could see places and do all things like that.
But with the not the hideout, that's not the right word.
The scouts.
The fast travel points that you unlock in little town.
The safe houses.
Yes. With those, the viewpoints are absolutely pointless.
Yeah, I find I fast travel to them way more than I can
Me
to
too.
viewpoints. Mainly because I can get on the ground and moving faster, whereas most of the times, a lot of the times, the viewpoints put you into a hostile
environment or wilderness.
Right.
But also, I think just generally, the safe houses are more relevant to your quest location.
Right. And I would have preferred, like, you have to have viewpoints. Like, you can't have an Assassin's Creed without the leaps of faith, without the viewpoints, without jumping into a haystack. Like, if they ever took that away, I would be joining all of the YouTubers to riot and be like, this isn't a real Assassin's Creed game. It is kind of nitpicky, but it does kind of break the immersion of, like, what's the point of me going through this castle to either remain undetected or fight my way through this castle to unlock this viewpoint solely for fast travel?
Right.
That a lot of times they're really difficult to get to, and I feel like the reward should be
equivalent.
Yeah,
I agree.
So let's talk about getting places, which is the Pathfinder feature, which kind of shows you the easiest path to get there. For me, it normally worked. It was difficult to see in the snow. It didn't always lead you directly where you needed to go, but it did help me sometimes when I decided to go off path and I get stuck in the bamboo and I find like, you know what, just screw it. And I would jump down and get on the Pathfinder and I would be able to find my way to where I needed to go. So I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I was pretty close. I gave it a 7 out of 10 just because there were a lot of times it didn't work for me. And when it did work, it was great. But when it didn't work, it's very frustrating. And especially if you've come to rely on it. But once they did the patch that kind of upgraded it, it was a lot better and I didn't have as many issues. But like when the game first came out, it was really buggy and I was struggling with it. So.
Yes. And with Pathfinder comes the other point, which is horses. And I do want to say, horses glitching out and bugging out is a Ubisoft Assassin's Creed feature. It is not a bug. It is a feature of the game. I want to see my horse standing vertically against a building. Like, that is something I want out of this.
I didn't see that at all in my playthrough.
But they are seamless, and I will fully acknowledge that my bar for horses is pretty low because as long as they are better than Dragon Age Inquisition horses, I'm going to be happy. And, like, they do increase travel. I think they really sound awesome. One of the things that I really didn't like about Valhalla is how slow your horse moved in certain places, and then it would like randomly decide to start galloping at full speed. Whereas this one, it's much more consistent. If you're in a populated area, you're not going to be galloping at full speed. If you're in the wilderness, you go fast. You go fast, yes.
The only criticism I have about the horses is that I wish when I was using Pathfinder and following the road, I wish I could make the horse gallop. But you can't.
Yes, I know.
That's the only thing.
But horses get a 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, me too.
They're good. The only other thing is, one of the things that I liked about Odyssey is that you named your horse. And I just feel like you would have named your horse in this too.
Well, the horses are named. They each have a different name.
Oh, when you equip them?
Yeah, but like for Naue, I never changed hers because the one that she comes with is her dad's horse. And I just felt like she would never, lore-wise, she would always keep that same horse. Yasuke's, I changed around the whole game.
Well, Yasuke's is gifted to him by Obunaga.
Yeah, I feel like he would be more likely. Like, I mean, I think he respects Nobunaga, obviously, and like grants him like, okay, my life would be completely different without you, but I don't think he would be so tied to a horse when like the weapons are right there.
Yes. And then the last thing on for exploration is climbing / parkour, which I also gave a 10 out of 10. It's very intuitive, I feel like, and with the update that they now gave with the way to wall eject and do all of that, it does improve on that, but I was pretty satisfied with it there. My critiques are like really, really small and are more performance based than they are like actual mechanic based.
Yeah, mine is, I gave it an 8 out of 10. This is one where we might disagree a little bit because I felt like while the parkour and climbing was a vast improvement over Valhalla specifically, I still felt like it was very repetitive. Like most of the parkour abilities in cities are just like, okay, climb up a little ladder. And then in the wilderness, in the countryside, it's virtually non-existent because you can't climb up mountains. Mountains are unscalable. There's a lot of like the natural formations that like I tried to climb with Naue and she still wasn't able to do it. And maybe that was a user error on my part. But I just felt like in the places where we could be creative in the countryside, it didn't work. And then in the cities where there could have been variety, it was very repetitive. And so for me, yes, it's an improvement, but there's still some work that can be done. Although I do agree with you that with the update that came, that did improve it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. So I gave 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10. So exploration for me was an 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, for me, totaling my scores was a 7.25 out of 10.
All right. So I think this would be a good time to go to our mid-break and we can come back with our spoiler full segment.
All right, let's do it.
It's the Smucker's Uncrustables podcast with your host, Uncrustables. Okay, today's guest is rough around the edges. Please welcome Crust.
Thanks for having me.
Today's topic, he's round with soft, pillowy bread.
Hey.
Filled with delicious PB&J.
Are you talking about yourself?
And you can take him anywhere.
Why'd you invite?
And we are out of time.
Are you really cutting me off?
Uncrustables are the best part of the sandwich. Sorry, Crust.
As a sports fan, I have to confess. Sometimes the game gets kind of boring. That's when I unfold my Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 7 and use multi-window viewing on its large screen. Boring game? I'm checking out my fantasy baseball league at the same time. Score still 1-0? I'm replying to emails in the other window, scoring points with the boss. Semifinals finally getting exciting? I'm buying tickets to the finals and booking my flights. Can your phone do that?
The new Galaxy Z Fold 7. Get yours at Samsung.com.
This episode is brought to you by FX's Alien Earth, the official podcast. Each week, host Adam Rogers is joined by guests, including the show's creator, cast, and crew, in this exclusive companion podcast. They will explore story elements, deep dive into character motivations, and offer an episode-by-episode behind-the-scenes breakdown of each terrifying chapter in this new series. Search FX's Alien Earth wherever you listen to podcasts.
Ma cos'è? Shoot! Shoot a flying demon!
Quite a carriage you got there. Where did you buy it, if you don't mind me asking?
Ask all you want, Freddy. You'll never get an answer.
Damn it all.
Was it my eyebrows? Yes, and your face, voice, and body.
What have you done? We used them. They were not ready for firing. You could have gotten us all killed. Let me see. His breath is more fatal than our cannons. Only when you two fools are shooting them. There, try it.
All right, welcome to the middle of the show. This is where we take time to talk about all the things that have to do with the lore cast and not the lore of Assassin's Creed. So the first thing that we have to do is shout out all of our amazing patrons. Thank you all so much for supporting us. We love you guys a bunch and couldn't keep making the show without you. If you want to sign up for the Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/ACLorecast and get all kinds of awesome things like merch, once a month patron chats on the show with us to talk about any topic of your choice, early access and ad-free access to episodes, and so much more. So definitely check that out if you're interested. And you can subscribe for as low as $5 a month. So definitely check that out. And now, if you can't support us on Patreon, the next best way to do so is to leave us a rating, a review, a comment of some kind. And this one comes from Ogie, who commented on our Assassin's Creed Talent Show patron chat and said, amazing episode, 5 stars. I don't know how to rate, but 5 stars. Thank you so much for that awesome comment. We greatly appreciate it. And now the next thing that I have to shout out is our Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. We have a ton of fun over there. So if you want to come hang out with us, talk about Shadows, get more in-depth opinions of things we didn't talk about in this episode and anything else, that's the place to be. And you can find the link to join in the episode description. So I think we can get back into it.
My cat Freddy loves to be brushed and cuddled. But stirring up his cat allergens meant sneezing and itchy eyes. Then I found Purina One Live Clear. It's cat food that reduced the major allergen and my suffering in as little as 21 days. Now, we feel closer than ever. If you have issues with cat allergens, you really need to try Purina One Live Clear.
Try new Purina One Live Clear today. Purina One, a difference from day one.
Lowe's knows to bring your vision to life, it's important to find the right color. That's why MyLowe's Rewards members get a free Valspar paint or exterior stain sample to test your look to confidently refresh your space. Offer valid in-store only 8/7 to 8/20. Limit 1 per customer while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See associate for details. Rewards program subject to terms and conditions. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Malaka. But that madman, the self-proclaimed Bishop of the Ruins, is our biggest critic. He calls our playing the devil's bagpipes.
I will sleep with anyone as long as they agree to be executed in the morning.
Like Xantivis.
He was well satisfied with his bargain. Who is this toothsome fellow?
My queen, this is,
Well?
It is a generous offer, but I've already pledged my life to this woman.
Aya, you have chosen well.
Yeah, all right. So, again, this is your final warning. We are about to enter into spoilers for this game, for the story of this game. Fully, and we're going to discuss the ending. We're going to discuss how the progression goes, anything that can be talked about the story, we're going to talk about it right now. So this is your chance. Like, if you haven't finished the game, if you don't want to be spoiled, you need to stop listening to this episode and come back at a different point.
Yeah. If you keep listening, do not comment and tell us that we spoiled you, because goodbye.
Goodbye. Yes. Here, and to quote one of our friends in Seven the Legend, here's your fucking spoiler warning.
Yep.
And now I just got us our explicit rating.
That's okay.
So I've broken down the story into several categories. We're going to talk about Yasuke first. He has quickly risen to one of my favorite protagonists in all of Assassin's Creed. His tie-in with the Templars, we have always assumed that they were part of this, but the confirmation of the Templars' involvement in the African slave trade is something that I think has been needed in the Assassin's Creed universe. Like, his story, the way that works out, the way it comes in, his connection to the Assassins, his connection to the Templars, and all of that, his rise of power from this stranger to this sense of honor, all the way down that his name is after this little dude's grandpa. 10 out of 10. Love it. Everything about it.
I completely agree. I had to give him a 10 out of 10 as well. And there were just so many of his lines, especially in the end game, that were goated beyond belief. Especially talking about his name, where I can't remember if it's Nuno Caro or the other guy, Duarte, is calling him by his old name. And he would just say, "I am Yasuke." Like, the way the voice actor delivered the lines, like, it was chills. So I have to agree with everything you said. And I think something that I really loved about Yasuke's portrayal is, like, yes, he's a warrior. Yes, he's a fighter. Yes, he can be brutal. But 9 times out of 10 in this game, he's the one that's talking Naue off the ledge of violence. 9 times out of 10, he's the one that's the first one to show, kindness or softness to a child. And I really, really enjoy that, because it just kind of defies your expectations a little bit, because you expect, like, the girl, the young person, the one who, like, has not been in all of these violent situations, the non-samurai, you expect her to be more gentle, and she's not at all. So I really liked that little twist.
I think, so President Teddy Roosevelt has a saying that he's most often, when people talk about him, they talk about this: speak softly and always carry a big stick.
Yeah.
Which is basically, like, a lot, you can interpret it a lot of ways, but I always interpret it of, like, start with gentleness, start with kindness, but be ready to fuck shit up if the need be. And that's kind of where Yasuke is in that. And I think that Yasuke really embodies in this, like, what it means to be a samurai, what it means to have honor. Like, him resorting to violence is always the last thing he wants to do. But the thing about it is, in his honor, like, when he resorts to violence, that's the end of it.
Yeah.
Like there is no coming back. And I love the scene where he comes in and he is going, it's like before his like samurai knighting ceremony or whatever, and he comes to Obunaga and he's like, I demand combat to return my master's sword. Like, in the sense of loyalty and the sense of like, I love the sense of like reclaiming of identity, of like him going from forced servitude to a like loyalty that he chooses. And I really like that kind of progression in there.
I have to agree with that. Just co-sign everything you said. So I think for me, you know, we've both said 10 out of 10. But let's move on to Naue a little bit, because I think we differ a little bit, but not very much.
No, Naue's story is also fantastic. I did give it a 9 out of 10. And really the only reason that it is a 9 out of 10 for me is that it's unfinished.
Mm-hmm.
It is so classic Assassin's Creed revenge story. I remember talking about when the game first out and posting in the Discord and being like, you know, Naue's story got me sobbing or whatever, like with her dad in the beginning and everything, and with him dying, and someone says like, didn't you see it coming? Like, yes, of course I saw it coming, but it was still sad because the way it's animated and the way the music rises in there. That's another thing we haven't talked about, but like the music in this game is great. The mix between like classic symphonic music with this like old style, like more new age, like Japanese movie anime style fighting music, like, is really, really great. I really enjoy all of that in there. But everything about that and Naue's movement, like the growth she has to go through when the moment where you meet Yasuke and Jundryo is like, if you kill him, hand me the katana next and I'm going to kill you. And like, that is a point of like realizing, I think one of the core Assassin's tenets is realizing that violence begets violence. And you have to only be willing to use violence when it's absolutely necessary. When it's absolutely at a point, you should never... Vengeance is really not the assassin way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that fine line you talk about between justice and vengeance.
Yeah, and it's ironic because, you know, I feel like I bring this up all the time, but like the origins of the assassins are rooted in vengeance. Mm-hmm. But that's this kind of existential debate, I feel like, within the assassins that they've always had, going back to their founders, because Bayek and Aya, they disagreed about how to use vengeance. You know, Bayek was definitely on the side of like, no, we need to get justice for our son. And Aya, all she wanted was vengeance for their son. And so I think that's something that's going to continuously plague the assassins.
And Naue and Yasuke kind of parallel that.
They do.
Because like Yasuke, of course, wants vengeance for his mother and wants vengeance for Nobunaga and all of
and
this
himself
and all of that, but he's not going to put that before the cost of justice for the people that he's trying to protect. And I think that is a point of Naue. I think that's a difference in their age, because Yasuke is, I wouldn't say significantly older than Naue, but he is older and more seasoned than Naue is. Naue is one of our youngest assassins to date. And so I think that with that, her story is really great, and we see that progression and doing all that. The way, like, uncovering the Japanese Brotherhood and their story, and I can't remember their actual name, Iki something.
Kakushiba Iki.
Yeah, Kakushiba Iki, and like, which is like the Order of the Blade or something like that. I really liked all that story. I liked bringing in Hattori Hanzo. I liked all of that. I was not a fan of the Hattori Hanzo love triangle thing, but I can live with it. It's not a deal breaker for me.
Okay, well, it's really, as it is established in canon, it's really not a love triangle, because Tsuyu never had any interest in him. Mm-hmm. So, you know, a love triangle, it takes all three of them to be interested, right? But I was joking about this as a side note and said, it's less of a love triangle and more of a throuple, and that's canon to me. But I don't actually think that's canon. I think that I think Tsuyu and Nagato fell in love, and because they were like the three of them training under Momoshi, like I think it's natural for him to feel left out. And that's fine, whatever. But for me, just going back to Naoe's story a little bit, I gave her story an 8.5 out of 10, where you gave her a 9. Because it's unfinished. I feel like that if it would be a 10 out of 10 if Tsuyu's story got resolved, because Naoe's story cannot be finished with her mother's unfinished.
Yes. She will always wonder and like want to like figure out where she went, and like the truth of the matter is where this comes in is like, yes, Yasuke defeats Nunokaro and all of them and the Templars, but like the Templars are still around.
Yep.
They're going to come back. They're going to be in there and like trying to figure this out and do all of that. And I appreciate like these other cults that are coming in, but like we'll talk about this in our next category. But with Naoe, like the unfinishedness in her story really takes away from like, especially when it ends and you're like, wait, what? Like, I don't know
I want more.
I want more.
Yeah.
I want more in this and figuring out what I need to know, and I need, as we'll talk with the Shinbaku, what is in the box? Like, what are these regalias? Why are they so important?
Are they pieces of Eden?
Right, these kinds of things. But that kind of gives us our summary of talking about the Shinbaku, which is the Order of Ancients, the Templars, like that main group of people that you're hunting down. That's kind of where you are. I gave the Shinbaku a 6 out of 10, solely because, one, their leader they do not do a good job of presenting who their leader is as an actual threat. Their like subordinate is the actual threat that you kind of deal with which is Mitsuhide. There's also I don't feel like there's a lot of stakes. I found myself like always constantly going back to Yasuke's story or Naoe's stories because those are the stakes that I wanted.
Yeah.
I wanted to know what was happening with the Assassins and Templars because that's what I've been invested in for a decade and a half. Almost 2 decades now. And so like I found myself getting that. I needed that more connection in there. I also just don't think they're very memorable. Like obviously Lady Oichi is memorable. Mitsuhide is memorable. Mitsuhide's nephew, who is an absolute asshole, is memorable. Like all these things are memorable, but the other ones just kind of
fade. Yeah,
they fade off. Even the like first 2 ones you do as Naoe, who are like the ones that you really interact with, the Teppo person and the guy who your dad cuts his ear off. Like they also kind of fade. And like the other, I mean, and I feel like the one that poses the most important development story is the first Shinbaku you kill, which is Junjiro's father.
Yeah,
like that's the one that serves as the main motivation for you in that. And so I just felt like I found myself doing the other objective boards because I was interested in them more than I was, and then like, oh, okay, let me go finish the Shinbaku so I can figure out what's coming up next.
I agree with a lot of what you said, and I would give this a 5 out of 10. And my issue is that, and I understand they probably wanted for the Shinbaku to all be Japanese. But I felt like it would have been stronger and it would have been more memorable and we would have cared more if they had more ties to the Templars and like more explanation of their stories just in general. But I felt like, you know, they're kind of implying, like, at least with Mitsuhide and with his daughter, that she's a Templar or she's forced into being a Templar. And so that means that he probably would have been a Templar too. And so for me, I'm like, well, why didn't you explore that more?
Right. And I think that there was a missed opportunity to bring back, I mean, they bring back Louis Froy in a lot, but the other priest that brings in with Yasuke, like bringing him back of like, oh, he's also a Templar. Like figuring that out and other things. We know Louis Froy was not a Templar.
Right,
like
we do.
That's something we know.
I think overall with the Shinbaku, and we can move on after this, like some of them I would give a 10 out of 10. Like Lady Oichi, yes, okay, I saw that coming a little bit, but it still surprised me. And Mitsuhide, like the Mitsuhide fight was really awesome with switching back and forth between the two of them. Like those, 10 out of 10. But the Shogun, I was beyond disappointed with his fight because like there was no option to just kill him anyway. Like you just had to basically stand aside no matter what. And then, you know, some of them are just forgettable in general. So it was kind of a mixed bag for me.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But let's get on to this. The objective board circles, which I gave a 10 out of 10, mainly because like they felt rewarding for you getting, like, even just the ones that gave you like the gold pieces that let you fully upgrade a gear for that, like that makes me want to go do them. And some of their stories, like the yokai, the butterfly collective, like they had robust things of like, yeah, these people need to be stopped. The reason they get a 10 out of 10 and on 9 out of 10, the only thing that I really can't is I wish they connected more to the Shinbaku.
Yeah.
But that's more of an issue I have with the Shinbaku than I have with the actual objective board. So they stay at 10 out of 10 for me.
That's fair. For me, I gave it an 8 out of 10 because while there were some that were interesting, there were some that I really didn't care about. The one that I thought was the most interesting was the one, I can't remember the name of it, but the one with all the mythological creatures.
It's the yokai.
The yokai. And if you haven't done it, it's really cool because basically like all of them, they're all people that are faking until you get to the last one and she's real. So that was cool. But like, I just felt like a lot of them, my frustration was that the game didn't do a very good job of communicating that like, hey, there might be an alternate way that you can do this. Like maybe you could spare this person. It didn't give you information. Like if you didn't happen upon the exact right person to give you the exact like most random piece of information, you would go and assassinate this person when really they could have been saved.
Yeah, it's not really clear.
And I find that frustrating.
I still don't know how to save the guy who's like stuff you have to break or something like that.
You have to break all of his stuff without getting caught.
Right, which is it's really hard.
It's hard anyway.
But that's really objective board circles. The companions are great. They all have really robust stories and they have real robust personalities. And I have not done any of the romances because I played canon mode first. So this might color my opinion, but I gave a 7 out of 10 because I felt no need to use them ever. And I felt...
in combat.
Yes, and I felt no need to like go back to the hideout and talk to them. And that's one of the biggest things of like when you come from a game playing BioWare games and other games with companions, like you expect like these robust conversations and like that's never been Assassin's Creed's strong point. And like so I was like, well, there's probably nothing really there. They're just there. Like I'll get cutscenes with them or something like that. And so I never felt the need to go back and talk to them, which I probably should have.
There are some conversations you can have.
Yes. So that was kind of like where I was at with that. I really, really liked the companion who you basically make your assassin apprentice at the end. I liked his story.
Yeah.
I really liked the samurai you can recruit as Yasuke, who is a romance option. I know you didn't like him, but I liked his story. I just really, and like, I know you don't, but Genojo, like, I liked his conflict that you can have with him, though I was on canon mode, so I didn't actually get to recruit him.
Okay. You've said a lot of things. I will just start at the beginning. I gave the companions an 8 out of 10. There are some of them that I adore. There are others of them that I cannot freaking stand. Specifically Genojo. Like, he pissed me off so badly every time I interacted with him, and I did his whole quest with, I think you have to do his whole quest with Naue. He's like flirting with you and hitting on you the whole time, and I talked with somebody in our Discord server about this, like, he is the embodiment of like the anime bro. And I hated it. I couldn't stand him at all. But then there were other characters that I loved. Like my favorite companions are Junjiro and Yaya. They both are really great. I think Yaya provides, before you get Yasuke, she provides that much needed person in the early game to Naue to be like, no, you shouldn't seek out this vengeance before Yasuke can do it. And so she's getting that from multiple directions, and I really love that about her. One thing that I didn't like is that there are like some companions only go with Naue and some companions only go with Yasuke, and like you can't really talk to them at the hideout if you're the other one. I didn't like that. Like, let me talk to them as either player character. But with the romances, like, they definitely are not, BioWare romances by any stretch of the imagination. But I did think they were more fleshed out than Odyssey and Valhalla's romances.
Right.
And there are some romances that you can do outside of the companions, which I did one of them. I romanced 3 people. So I romanced Lady Oichi as Yasuke, and that was all I did for him. I romanced Koshiro for Naue, who's the injured samurai guy, which that one was great. And then after that, I romanced Katsuhime, which was also good. I preferred Koshiro's. I just wanted him to come to the hideout, and he didn't, but that's okay.
My favorite potential romance in the game is your Auntie Matsu and the grandpa.
Oh, yeah, 100%. Oh, I didn't talk about Matsu with Naue's section, but I loved her. Like, great character. Again, I wanted her to come to the hideout.
Right. If you have not gone back to Iga, go back to Iga. And do some quests in there because they're pretty good. Actually, I think you have to if you want to complete the Yamashiro or whatever they're called.
You have to also to get the Assassin's quests.
Oh, yes. So overall story for me was a 8 out of 10.
Me too.
All right. So now we're going to talk about progression, which is more like game mechanic stuff, so it's less interesting in a lot of ways. So we'll probably fly a lot quicker through this than we will the Will story. But so leveling, I gave a 10 out of 10. It's really easy to level. I never found myself like being like, oh, I'm so under level, I've got to go and like kill a bunch of pigs or something like that.
Yeah, I gave it a 10 out of 10 as well, because there were many times where I went to my mastery page and was like, oh my god, I have 50 points to spend. Cool. So.
Yes. And we'll talk about mastery points in a minute. Gear progression, I gave a 7 out of 10 just because I found myself really like lacking the resources and like not wanting to spend the resources to upgrade gear. And so basically I was waiting till I got max level and I was just using non-legendary equipment until I could get to max level and use the gold piece to get the thing there, which I found a little frustrating just because I feel like the resources aren't as abundant, which is part of my issue with like the scouts of like I wish there was a way to farm that get a kind of passive farm of that. But so that's where I got with gear progression and all of that.
I have no opinion on this. I just gave it an 8 out of 10 because I didn't know what else to do.
All right. Mastery points, 8 out of 10 for me. I would like a little more variety in them. I felt like a lot of the skills were repetitive or just like that. And if you turn on guaranteed assassinations, a lot of your mastery points are pointless. But that's a game mechanic thing, and they tell you that when you do it. They're like, hey, this will limit your experience. But
I did that and didn't mind it.
Yes. But I really liked that you could get them. They're really easy to get, like Shelby said. You could there were many times I had a lot in there. You can reset them whenever you want to. Like, there's a lot of good things there. Mastery points, 8 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out of 10 just because it's not something I think about a lot. And so when I feel like, okay, there's a game mechanic that I don't necessarily have to think about or baby, that's how it should be. But I also, I like that you get them for side quests and clearing castles and things that are not just main missions. So I appreciate that.
I agree with that too. Knowledge points, 8 out of 10 for me. There was a cool addition. Oftentimes, if I couldn't get an ability, it was not because I didn't have the mastery points. It's because I did not have the knowledge rank.
Yes.
The only thing I wish about knowledge points that we could get through would be that I wish they were more like accessible in the games and not really out of your way. I found myself only doing them if I saw them on my way to another objective.
Me too, but that's not the knowledge rank's fault. That's the exploration and the open world's fault.
Yes, that is a fair point. So I gave it an 8 out of 10.
I gave it a 9 out of 10 just because, like, For me, the only one of the mini games that I particularly enjoyed was horse archery. But what I really enjoyed was like the little secret skill tree. Once you got your knowledge rank up max or whatever, you could just like, and like I got to a point where like, okay, I'm not going to put any more points for Yasuke into the weapons I'm not using. Like, sure, I'll do the passives, but I'm not going to use those abilities because it's just a waste. So let me just throw those points into the little secret knowledge skill tree. So I appreciated that there was like a place that I could use those points once I've gotten it done.
Yeah, definitely. So for progression, 8 out of 10.
Grand total for me is 9 out of 10.
Yes. All right, so let's talk about the hideout, which shouldn't take long. Hideout customization, I gave a 7 out of 10, mainly because I found no purpose for it, like other than like
it's just fun.
It's just a fun aesthetic. So like I set up something that I really liked, but I didn't really go out of my way to collect the cosmetic items, just because I felt like resources in this were really scarce, and so I didn't want to spend the money, and I didn't want to spend I just didn't want to collect all that, so I didn't do a lot of that. But I did get all of the buildings, which is important, which comes to my end. We're going to do these paired, so you can talk about both of them. Okay. In-game benefits, I gave it 9 out of 10 because some of the things you get in the hideout really, really help you out in the in the world, and like beyond like the standard ones, the blacksmith, but like an XP bonus, reducing scout cost, all these things are great. So overall hideout, 8 out of 10 for me.
Okay, here's my complaint. I gave customization a 6 out of 10 and the in-game benefits an 8 out of 10. For customization, if you're going to give me Sims 4 Assassin's Creed version, I want to go balls to the wall. I want to do it all. I want to customize every single thing. And I just didn't feel like you could do that, and it wasn't very intuitive of a system. Granted, this is the first time they've ever done anything like this, so I'm giving it a 6 out of 10 because it was a pretty damn good attempt. But like, let me do everything. Give me colors, give me clothes, give me more animal, like give me literally everything. Mm-hmm. That's what I want.
Let you have more than 10 pets.
Let me do it all. Let me connect any room, any way, with any kind of brick, with any kind of, like literally I want to do everything that I can do.
Right. Because you want the Sims Assassin's Creed.
Exactly. Like, if don't tease me, just give it to me, you know? I'm going to buy it. But then for in-game benefits also, I didn't really notice this outside of the benefits to the scouts.
Yeah. The XP bonus really helped. If you get the XP bonus, like as soon as you unlock Yasuke, it really makes a difference.
Yeah, I got all the buildings and leveled up my whatever hideout as soon as possible. Like, it was very early in the game. So I think I got it so early, like I didn't notice.
That's fair.
It happening.
And then, so what was your grand total for?
7 out of 10.
All right. So performance, 10 out of 10. This game is the most stable Ubisoft game I've ever played in my entire
100%.
life. And the fact that it was as polished as it was at launch, it had bugs, but most games have bugs. But the bugs were not game breaking, and they were not they were things not behaving like they're supposed to, which happens in all games.
Yeah.
And so, but I gave this a 10 out of 10 on performance.
Yeah, me too, because I only had the only bugs I had were with horses not working right in the Pathfinder, which that happens. And then I had one bug, and I just had to reload a quest. Like, it wasn't a big deal at all. There were no, floating candles like in Valhalla. Like, there were no Unity game-breaking bugs. Like, it was very stable and very well done. I mean, it was a very polished game. Mm-hmm. I understand they delayed the game twice, and I understand they wanted to do that so that, people wouldn't be calling them buggy soft constantly. But for a game that was delayed twice, I expect it to have minimal bugs, and it held up to that standard.
Yes. Ubisoft still doesn't know how to make children's faces look not crazy, but
okay. I have a note on my phone for the listeners. Austin knows this. I have a note in my notes app on my phone of just like the thoughts that I have while I'm playing this game. One of them is, direct quote, Why do so many of the children's faces look like a lizard person trying on skin for the first time?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a Ubisoft thing.
It's horrible.
So performance 10 out of 10, 10 out of 10 for you. I have one major gripe that we haven't talked about that I want to talk about, but I want to give you opportunity to share any major gripes you don't want to that we haven't talked about.
Number one is that the weather system, while it's very impressive, and I love the technology and the innovation that they've done with that, I can't stand it. Like, I hate it. If I could skip any of the seasons and just skip winter every time, I'd be golden. But we can't do that. My other gripe is, okay, this one's super random. The dudes with the spatulas piss me off irrationally. Like, there's no reason for it, but your weapon looks like a spatula. Are you not embarrassed? Be a man. Anyway. But the two, like, real big complaints I have with this game. One is mechanical, and it's that the voice acting is not very good. The voice acting with Yasuke and Naoe, amazing. Really good, especially Yasuke's voice actor. Phenomenal. Everything else is mid at best. And there are some that I'm just like, this has really taken me out of the game.
There are some that are, I feel like, sometimes borderline offensive.
Yes.
In Japanese actors. And I just am at the point of, like, why do we have to make it so cartoonish? Like, just record regular people.
Yeah, I think that they probably wanted to only have, it sounds like they wanted to have only Japanese voice actors voicing these characters.
Which
and
is,
I
100%.
appreciate that. But also, it just could have been done better, I think.
I think that I have heard that if you put it on the immersive mode where when people are speaking Portuguese, they speak Portuguese, and otherwise it's Japanese, it's a little bit better.
I've heard that too, but I haven't tested it, so I can't speak to that.
Because I don't like to read that much when I'm playing a video game. I put on subtitles because I can't hear, just in general.
My last thing that I just had a complaint about is with the story. All I cared about was Yasuke and Naoe's story and how it connected to the Assassins and the Templars. My biggest complaint is that was not built into the main. I mean, like, their stories are the main quest line, but the main quest line is the Shinbaku. And they are not really tied at all to the Assassins and the Templars, like, minorly. But I just felt like the best fight in the game is the Nuno Karo fight. That fight is peak AC to me. Just the delivery of the voice acting, the changing of the fight, and, like, the way that Yasuke slit his throat right as the guy went to draw his gun and shoot Yasuke. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I was like, oh my God, what's going to happen here? So, like, that, to me, he was the big bad of the game. Mm-hmm. He should have been the leader of the Shinbaku, in my opinion. And so I just wish that they had tied in the Templars trying to make their way into the Japanese political system in a more immersive, cohesive way, and that the Assassins hadn't been, oh, well, they're just destroyed.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And so this kind of brings into my two major gripes that I've got, which is, you all are going to know this because I've been talking about this since we started the podcast, but the lack of Isu and Pieces of Eden in this game is really telling. And I know that they're trying to, like, there's been a lot of Isu, and I think they're trying to, like, correct that. But Assassin's Creed is both historical and modern day. We need the Assassins Templar conflict, and we need the Isu behind that with the Pieces of Eden. Like, that's what makes the Assassin's Creed story and kind of creates the stakes of the game. And, like, the modern day is in there, and you can get some, like, data entry things through the battle pass kind of thing, and, like, there are these scenes of these Animus rifts that you can go in with these vague kind of things, but it is not the same. Like, there are no stakes. Like, we don't really know what's going on. All of these threads that we've set up with the reader and with Basm and all of this stuff, and the meeting with William Miles and all these things that we have set up in the games past seem to have been abandoned, and I am just frustrated with that, and I want a way to experience that story outside of printed media.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really kind of my major gripe with that. I want modern day, and I've always loved the modern day. I've never been a modern day hater, even in, Unity and Syndicate, where people really hate on the modern day. But like, I want those stakes because that's what makes the game, because the history's already happened. Like, nothing that I'm going to do or decide in the historical context is going to have an effect or stakes in the modern day story.
Right, because the modern day story is what grounds the history. It's why we even care about what's happening in the historical setting, because there's something in the modern day tying it to us.
Yes.
I agree with you. I think it's a missed opportunity, and we were chatting about this, but to me it feels like Ubisoft is in a similar place that BioWare is in terms of they have written themselves into a place where they don't know where to go next. With the modern day specifically, they can always come up with historical settings. Like, historical settings are infinite, but if they don't know what to do after, the end of the world, or they don't know what to do with Basm, they don't know where to go. If you don't know what to do with Solus, like, how are you going to have a story, And I know that's a Dragon Age reference, but I just feel like it's very similar, and that they are kind of just at a crossroads and they're not inspired.
Well, and I think when we come to talking about BioWare, like, that was the problem with Mass Effect Andromeda, is BioWare really, like, they were done, but EA or whoever, the powers that be, wanted another Mass Effect game, so they made one, and they tried something, and it didn't land. And I think, like, Ubisoft is after that. Like, no one intended to make a game really after Assassin's Creed 3.
Right.
I think, like, there was not a plan for that, and so they just kind of scraped some things together, and like, they had a really good cohesive story from Black Flag to Syndicate, and I think they had a cohesive story, not as good, but a cohesive story from Origins to Valhalla.
Yeah, I can't remember if Layla dies in Odyssey or Valhalla. It's Valhalla,
It's
right?
Valhalla. She dies, yes.
I feel like there's so much of Valhalla that kind of just throws everything for a loop. Basm being this kind of like immortal being, Layla dying, so now they don't have a protagonist for the modern day anymore. There's just, they need to create a new protagonist, whether it's Basm, whether it's William Miles, whether it's somebody new, and Sean or Rebecca too. They've got to have a new protagonist if they want to do it correctly, and I don't think that wandering through the Animus is gonna do it correctly.
I agree, but that's really my biggest gripe with that. Overall, this game for me, yes, I added up all my scores and did the math. It was really like an 8.6 repeating. I said an 8.5, but we'll go with an 8.6 out of 10.
I also did the math, and mine was an 8.2.
All right, so solid like 8 to 8.5 of where we put this game. It is a really good Assassin's Creed game, and I think mechanically and playability, it's the best one. I think as I've taken some time with it, I would still rate Origins story over it.
Of the like new.
Yes.
I agree with you. I think I do. There are things about all of the new games, the RPG games, that I think they each do well. Maybe except for Valhalla. But I think in terms of story-wise, Origins and Shadows are top two. And I don't really think it comes close. I think people love Odyssey for sure. And I do too, because I think Cassandra is probably one of the most compelling characters that we've seen in the historical era. But I just think that there is something about tragedy and vengeance, and getting that vengeance or not getting that vengeance as a theme that people can relate to, and that's in both Origins and Shadows. And so I think those two are the top two. I agree with you. But for me, Origins still comes out on top.
Yes, I just think that Yasuke and Naue are definitely memorable, but playing as Bayek and Bayek's story and the amount of personal development we get with Bayek is just unparalleled in the new games.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's like, okay, Bayek. Ooh, I don't know. It's hard to rank these characters, but like Bayek is on top. Like, he's one of my favorite Assassin's Creed characters of all time. But then Cassandra and Yasuke are probably pretty tied for me. And then it probably goes Naue. And then I don't give a single shit about Eivor.
My problem with Cassandra and Alexios is it's so dependent on the player of what they're like.
Yeah, that's fair.
And that's kind of where I got. And then like Eivor is Eivor. There's not really an Assassin's Creed protagonist that I dislike. It's really just who I like better.
You don't dislike Shay Cormac?
I mean, no, he's a good character. And you feel for him. You can't speak about games you haven't played.
Everything I've seen from him pisses me off irrationally, so I don't think I'm going to play his game. Sorry.
Yeah, listen, he says I make my own luck a little too much, okay? But we'll forgive him.
I don't know why he annoys me. Sometimes there are just characters in games that like irrationally, and they don't even do anything wrong. I can't stand them, and he's one of them.
Play Rogue for the Hatham content.
Yeah, I probably won't,
all right,
to be honest.
Well, we have been here a long time, and so it is time to wrap this up.
Yes, let's do it. Thank you for putting the notes together. I'm super excited we could do this episode before we went on our family leave. So hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you disagree with us about anything, hop in our Discord and let us know or leave us a comment. We're always here to chat. So thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. You can find us on Twitter at AC Lorecast.
If you have any lore questions or topics to unpack, join our Cups Podcasting and More Discord server. It's the best place on the internet. You can also support us financially through our Patreon. Find us on patreon.com/Assassin's Creed Lorecast. The Assassin's Creed Lorecast is part of the Robots Radio Network. For more information about the Robots Radio Network, join the Discord server via the link in our episode's description.
If you enjoyed the show or learned something new today, please subscribe, leave us a review, and join the Patreon. And if you enjoyed our intro and outro music, make sure you give a big thank you to Pipeman Studios. Thank you, Pipeman. Thanks again for listening to the Assassin's Creed Lorecast. And always remember, Assassins, stay in the shadows to serve the light.
Want to live better? We got a lot of work to do. Join Chris Hemsworth in National Geographic's new Disney Plus original series, Limitless. Live better now.
I'm diving headfirst into cutting-edge science to uncover 3 powerful secrets to living better right now. The growth that occurs through any challenging experience is really what we seek.
Chris Hemsworth stars in Limitless. Live better now. Now streaming on Disney Plus and Hulu.
It's showtime.
Ever wanted to be a content creator but had no clue where to begin? Come join me as I sit down with content creators that have already faced the challenges you're up against, as they discuss the tips and tricks that help them be successful. Here on The Content Creator's Guide, available wherever podcasts can be found.